From Guildhall duties to a Viscount secret collection, Licelle and the Thrust Gill are officially partners. Their new journey begins immediately, accepting an escort quest to the distant city of Marcade. But with high-ranking warnings and dangers on the road, this sightseeing trip might prove more perilous than they expect. The next day, Licelle and Gill are in a carriage. Gill notices the driver is exceptionally helpful, imagining he also mistook Licelle for a nobleman. He doesn't blame him, knowing they are heading toward a mansion. A few hours earlier, while Licelle and Gill were at the guild, one adventurer asked another if it was true that the Thrust Gill had formed a party. They now see that it's true. While Stud is writing a document, he asks Licelle if he is sure about this decision. Licelle replies by asking if he thinks it's a bad idea. Stud says it's fine, and that he won't oppose him. Looking at Gill, Stud is asked if he thinks he's already grown fond of him. Stud claims he said no such thing, but warns Gill not to put Licelle in danger just because he is no longer his bodyguard. Gill plays dumb, so Stud takes Licelle's hand, showing the mark left on his wrist. Licelle jokes that Gill cried so he wouldn't leave him. After handing over his ID, Stud mentions he has a letter for him from Ray. Upon seeing it, Licelle knows the king sent it and wonders if this counts as an abuse of authority. Stud notes that since it's a personal letter, they can't refuse it. After reading it, Licelle gives it to Gill. It's an invitation to Ray's mansion to see his collection. Licelle decides to go out of curiosity regarding the Labyrinth collection, especially since he never finds anything good himself. Stud tells them they can use the Central District carriage service and go today, as the Viscount will surely let them in. Back in the present, a butler receives them at the entrance. On the way in, Licelle is impressed by the many paintings in the hall. He notices a painting of a green dragon just as Ray arrives, thanking them for coming and expressing his wish for the three of them to be good friends, asking to be treated as an equal. Licelle tries but remains formal, while Gill naturally tells Ray he is a nuisance. They begin the tour. Licelle asks if everything consists of labyrinth objects and if the people in the paintings are real. Ray confirms they are, explaining they can be seen as labyrinth records. To Gill, they are just unwanted items that adventurers leave behind. Ray finds this regrettable, as some are worth more than jewels. Some paintings depict what are now considered bosses or labyrinth mysteries. He even shows a painting dedicated to Licelle and Gill. Licelle notes how good Gill looks in the portrait, while Gill tells him to be quiet. Ray mentions the painting cost a fortune. Licelle observes that strong adventurers seem very popular. Ray agrees, stating that while strength is important, appearance matters more, as ladies even fight over them at auctions. Embarrassed, Gill tells them to hide that thing. Licelle jokes that if character were valued, no one would want Gill. He wonders if he'll ever have his own portrait, but fears it falling into a stranger's hands. Ray promises that if one ever exists, he will pay whatever it takes to get it. Ray then hands him a letter as a charm for when they visit Marcade. Licelle hesitates, doubting a lower-ranked adventurer would have such an opportunity, but Ray guarantees the time will come. Licelle accepts the gift, and they go to see the rest of the collection. On a new day, Licelle walks through the city. People greet him politely as a nobleman. At first, he corrects them, but eventually gets tired and accepts it. He arrives at the appraiser's shop, where Judge congratulates him on forming his party. Licelle presents an artifact for evaluation, an infallible hourglass that works in any position. Licelle laments not finding typical adventurer gear, but Judge finds it fabulous to see new artifacts. Licelle affectionately pats his head. Licelle asks if the shop often receives labyrinth paintings like the ones in the collection he saw, including the expensive one of Gill. Judge is horrified imagining Gill posing, but wonders what Licelle would look like in a painting. Judge explains that specialized shops for labyrinth paintings are located in Marcade. Licelle notes it is far away. Judge reveals his grandfather lives there and he plans to visit. He asks them to escort him. Licelle initially suggests someone more experienced, but Judge shyly insists he wants them. Liesel promises to discuss it with Gil. Back at the guild, Licelle tells Stud that Judge will send a request soon. Stud explains that the guild often uses Judge for evaluations, a tradition started by his grandfather. Stud and Judge are the same age and spoke occasionally, though they weren't friends. Regarding the trip to Marcade, Licelle says he's just going for sightseeing. Since they won't see each other for a while, Stud invites Licelle for coffee. At the cafe, Stud admits he only takes breaks when necessary and asks if it was inappropriate to talk outside of work. Licelle says it made him happy. Stud notices the bruise on Licelle's wrist is gone. Licelle mentions Gil didn't squeeze that hard. Their conversation is interrupted by adventurers mocking Licelle for being with Gil. Licelle asks to take it outside to avoid bothering Stud, but Stud coldly insists on staying with Licelle. When the adventurers get aggressive, Stud threatens to kill them by freezing their arms, forcing them to flee. Liesel warns Stud not to do such dangerous things because he worries about him. Outside the city, Stud tells Judge to return soon and playfully hits him. In the carriage, Stud tells them to take care. During the journey, Judge mentions Stud is always sarcastic, but Licelle says it's because they get along well. Liesel asks why Judge needs a carriage if he has spatial magic. Judge explains that some materials and tools reject all magic. While enjoying the breeze, Gil warns that feeling too relaxed dulls the senses. He notes a group of green hyenas approaching. Liesel promises to handle it and tries to climb through the roof hatch. Struggling, he uses Gil's hand as a step. Once on the roof, he checks if the horses mind loud noises. When Judge says they don't, Liesel uses his magic weapon to precisely take down all the hyenas. He gets nervous about the height when trying to get back inside, leading Gil to tease him for acting like a damsel. Judge is left wondering if that weapon was a pistol, imagining it must be worth a fortune.